The first time he noticed her, he didn't expect to care. Michael Hawthorne, one of the richest men in the country, had everything he could ever want. Mansions in Beverly Hills and Manhattan, a private jet that never left the ground without him, and a life of unquestionable luxury. Yet, even with all the accolades and the sharp suits, he had grown numb to the glittering world around him. Success had taught him to expect nothing, to trust almost no one, and to see people only as either obstacles or conveniences. But that morning, something inside him stirred. He had been walking down the marble hall of his estate, the sun spilling across the polished floors, when he noticed her, a young black woman, moving quietly and effortlessly as she assisted his wife, Claire, into the wheelchair that had become a constant part of their lives after the car accident. The maid, he didn't even know her name yet, moved with a grace and patience that made the act of helping look like art. Claire, once vibrant and independent, now relied on others for almost everything. Michael had grown accustomed to that, to the clinical routine of caregiving, nurses, assistants, therapists. But this woman, she didn't move with duty. She moved with empathy. Every touch was gentle, every word soft. Even from across the room, Michael could see the care in her eyes, a warmth he had almost forgotten existed. "Good morning, Mrs. Hawthorne," she said softly, helping Claire adjust her pillow. Claire smiled faintly, eyes lighting up in a way Michael hadn't seen in years. "Good morning, Maya," she said, naming her for the first time. Michael stopped mid-step, the name lingering in his mind. Maya. There was something about the simplicity of it, the normalcy, that made him feel an unfamiliar tug at his chest. Over the next few days, Michael found himself watching her more than he wanted to admit. Not in a way that intruded, but in quiet, stolen moments, the way she carried trays, the way she read aloud from Claire's favorite books, the patience she had when Claire grew frustrated or tired. He realized that Maya treated his wife not like someone to be pitied, not like someone fragile, but like someone still worthy of laughter, of dignity, of love. One evening, he found himself in the sitting room, pretending to check emails, when Maya was helping Claire into bed. Claire had tried to reach something on the bedside table, and Maya instinctively bent down to place it within reach, murmuring encouragement as she adjusted the blanket. Michael felt a tightness in his throat. He didn't know the woman, hadn't invited her into his life, and yet he felt something that he hadn't felt in a long time, hope. That night, he couldn't sleep. He thought about how he had come to rely on routine, how his heart had hardened under the weight of power and expectation. But Maya reminded him that humanity still existed in the quiet corners, in the small acts no one noticed. The following week brought a crisis. Claire, fatigued and struggling with a sudden flare-up of pain, could barely move on her own. Nurses came and went, some impatient, some overwhelmed, but it was Maya who stayed by her side, holding her hand, whispering words of encouragement, adjusting her position to relieve discomfort. Michael watched from the doorway, frozen, as a flood of emotions he had suppressed for years washed over him. Gratitude, guilt, awe, all tangled together. Finally, he walked into the room. Maya looked up, startled, and Michael realized she had no idea he had been standing there. "You've been here, all day?" he asked, voice quieter than he intended. Maya nodded. "She needs someone who cares," she said simply. "Someone who listens, someone who doesn't treat her like a burden." Michael swallowed. The blunt honesty in her words hit him harder than any criticism ever had. I didn't realize," he admitted, almost ashamed. "You're her husband," Maya said softly, eyes steady on his. "I know you love her. But love isn't always enough. Sometimes it takes more than that." Michael felt the truth in her words pierce him. Love, wealth, status, they were meaningless if they didn't come with understanding, with patience, with a willingness to see someone's humanity even when life made it inconvenient. Over the next few weeks, Michael's routine began to change, not because he was forced to, but because he wanted to. He started spending time in Claire's room, reading with her, laughing with her, listening in ways he hadn't done since before the accident. And always, Maya was there, a quiet guide, teaching him by example, showing him how to be present, how to care without expecting anything in return. Then came the evening that changed everything. Claire had a particularly difficult day, the kind that left her exhausted and frustrated. She cried for the first time since the accident, tears streaking her face, and Michael felt panic rise in him. He wanted to help, but he didn't know how. Maya stepped forward, kneeling beside Claire, gently brushing her hair back from her face. "It's okay to cry," she whispered. "It's okay to let it out. You're not alone." Michael watched, struck by the tenderness in her voice. And then, as he stood there, he realized something that made his chest ache. He had fallen in love with her, not in the romantic way he feared, but in the way one admires pure goodness, one reveres someone whose heart is untainted, whose kindness flows naturally. Days turned into weeks, and the boundaries of their lives began to blur in subtle ways. Maya would share stories of her childhood, of struggles and dreams, and Michael found himself opening up, telling her things he hadn't told anyone. It was not inappropriate, it was human. She made him feel, truly feel, for the first time in decades. One afternoon, Michael watched as Maya helped Claire onto the patio, sunlight glinting off her hair, her movements careful and loving. Claire turned to Michael, a mischievous smile on her lips. "You know, she's magic," she said, eyes twinkling. "I don't know what I would do without her." Michael nodded, silently agreeing. Magic was the only word for it. But he realized something else, too. He couldn't let this magic go unnoticed, not now that he understood its power. That evening, he found Maya alone in the kitchen, cleaning up after dinner. "Maya," he said, his voice tentative. "I need to say something." She looked up, curious. "Yes, sir. I've been a fool," he admitted. "I've spent so many years chasing wealth, status, power, and I've forgotten what really matters. Watching you with Claire, seeing the way you care, the way you love without expecting anything, it's reminded me of what I've been missing. Not just in my life, but in myself." Maya blinked, stunned. "Sir, call me Michael," he said gently. "And I want to thank you. Not just for taking care of Claire, but for showing me what it means to be truly human. You've stirred something in me I thought was gone forever." Tears glimmered in her eyes, but she smiled, a mixture of humility and pride. "I only did what anyone would do," she said softly. "No," Michael said firmly. "What you do is extraordinary. You've taught me about kindness, selflessness, and the power of the human heart. And for that, I will be forever grateful." From that night on, their lives transformed. Claire regained confidence and found joy in small moments, laughing more freely, living more fully. Michael became a different man, present and attentive, no longer defined solely by wealth or status. And Maya, well, she became family, not in title, but in bond, the kind that defies convention, transcends class, and touches the soul. One sunny afternoon, Michael watched Maya push Claire's wheelchair down the garden path, laughter spilling in the warm breeze. He felt a full, steady heartbeat of gratitude, a realization that money could never buy what Maya had given them: humanity, compassion, and the courage to love without reservation. As he walked up to join them, Maya looked up, her eyes meeting his. And in that look, Michael knew something profound. Kindness, once seen, cannot be ignored. It changes hearts, it changes lives, it creates a world where love, in its purest form, is possible. That day, he made a silent promise to himself. He would never let power blind him again. He would never forget the lessons she had taught him. And he would honor the quiet heroism of the woman who had stirred his heart, not with wealth, not with charm, but with a courage and compassion that no amount of money could ever replicate. Maya smiled, Claire laughed, and Michael, finally free of the weight he had carried for years, felt a profound sense of peace. In that moment, he understood the truth that had eluded him for so long. Sometimes, the richest hearts are found in the simplest acts of love, and sometimes, it takes someone else's selflessness to awaken the humanity we thought we'd lost. This version is fully emotional, character-driven, and written in a way that resonates with US readers. It includes strong emotional hook. Michael's initial numbness contrasted with Maya's empathy. Relatable characters: wealthy man, disabled wife, kind-hearted maid. Unexpected turns: Michael's gradual emotional awakening, the crisis with Claire. Emotional climax: Michael recognizing Maya's extraordinary impact on his and Claire's lives. Heartwarming ending: family-like bond, personal transformation, hope restored. If you want, I can also craft a shorter, punchy 10 to 15 second hook version that could serve as the opening for a video or social media post to immediately grab attention. This works especially well for USA audiences and viral content. Do you want me to make that version too?